You want to disappear for 6 months and come back completely unrecognizable. You are exhausted from wasting years of your life making zero progress. But here is the trap. Trying to figure out your dream future will keep you stuck. To actually transform, you must aggressively weaponize everything you absolutely hate. Today, I am giving you the ultimate 6-month roadmap to rebuild your mind, your habits, and your wealth. No fluff, no generic advice, just the exact blueprint to take back control and skyrocket your value. Grab a notebook, lock in, and let's get started. Chapter 1. The Anti-Vision Strategy. We are diving straight into the deep end because your time is valuable. If you want to disappear for 6 months and come back as a completely different, leveled up version of yourself, we have to fix how you are setting your targets. Here's the silly, common mistake people make. You sit down with a blank piece of paper, stare at the ceiling, and try to dream up your perfect, idealized life. You try to force a vision. You try to figure out your grand life purpose. It gets incredibly overwhelming. You realize you have no idea what you actually want to do for the next 40 years. You get paralyzed, and you end up doing absolutely nothing. You just go back to scrolling on your phone. Here is the exact easy action you need to do instead. Build an anti-vision. Grab a pen and aggressively write down everything you do not want your life to look like. Write down the job you hate. Write down the friends who drain you. Write down the physical body you don't want to live in. Write down the endless, boring weekends spent doing things you don't even enjoy just to fit in. Make a hit list of the experiences you refuse to repeat. Think about it like this. Imagine you are trying to pick out the perfect, beautiful curtains for your living room, but your house is currently on fire. The mistake is obsessing over the curtains. Your immediate job isn't to decorate. Your job is to grab a hose and put out the fire. Your anti-vision is the fire. Let's look at the behavioral mechanics behind this. Human beings are biologically hardwired for survival, not happiness. Your brain is designed to move away from pain much faster and much more aggressively than it moves toward pleasure. This is a positive fear mechanism. When you clearly define what you are running away from, you trigger a primal, deeply rooted psychological drive. You don't need to know your ultimate destiny yet. You just need to know what you are running from, and that alone will kick you into massive action. Chapter 2. The Great Disappearing Act. Once you know what you are running from, you have to actually start running, and that means creating distance. The most common mistake you can make right now is trying to radically reinvent your entire life while hanging out with the exact same people, going to the exact same places, and participating in the exact same drama. You tell your friends you are trying to change, and they subconsciously pull you back down because your growth makes them uncomfortable with their own lack of progress. Instead, the exact action you must take is to completely disappear into hibernation for 6 months. Cut the toxic ties. Stop showing up to the mediocre weekend hangouts. If you have friends who are surrounded by drama, or who just want to sit around drinking and complaining about the world, you have to leave them behind. Go ghost. Here is a highly visual everyday analogy. Imagine you are a piece of a sponge sitting in a bowl of muddy, dirty water. You can scream, "I want to be clean," all day long, but as long as you are sitting in the muddy bowl, you are going to soak up the mud. You have to physically take the sponge out of the bowl and put it on a clean counter. Why does this happen? It comes down to how our minds absorb standards. We don't invent our own standards out of thin air. We absorb them directly from our environment. The friends you hang out with, the media you watch, the conversations you overhear, your brain uses mirror neurons to constantly adapt your behavior to match your tribe. If your tribe is lazy, your brain will literally wire you to be lazy so you fit in. By disappearing, you are manually resetting your environment so your brain can finally absorb higher standards. Chapter 3. The Biological Engine. If you are going to spend 6 months reinventing yourself, you are going to need a ridiculous amount of fuel. The stupid mistake people make when trying to change their lives is ignoring the biological machine carrying their brain. They try to learn new skills and build businesses, but they are sleeping random hours, pounding chemical-rich junk food, and eating purely for taste. They are living in a constant state of brain fog and wondering why they have no motivation. The exact easy action to replace this is to completely reinvent your relationship with consumption. For 6 months, you stop eating for taste, and you start eating exclusively for energy. Cut the fried foods, cut the endless sugar, and drown yourself in a gallon of water every single day. More importantly, lock down your sleep. Go to bed at the exact same time and wake up early. It is exactly like putting cheap, dirty, watered-down gas into a high-performance sports car. You can have the best engine in the world, but if the fuel is garbage, the car is going to sputter, stall, and break down. Your body is the vehicle for your ambition. The practical mechanics of your mind rely entirely on your physical state. When you mess with your circadian rhythm by staying up late and sleeping in randomly, you disrupt the neurochemical balance in your brain. You create cognitive fatigue. By fixing your sleep and eating clean, nutrient-dense food, you are literally lifting the fog. After a few months of this, your brain unlocks massive reserves of free, usable energy that it previously had to waste just trying to keep you awake and digesting garbage. You will feel superhuman. Chapter 4. The mindset metronome. You have your anti-vision, you've cut distractions, and your energy is dialed in. Now you need a daily anchor. The silly mistake people make here is going to the gym strictly because they want to get washboard abs or look good for someone who dumped them. They tie their physical fitness to external validation. When the physical results don't show up in 2 weeks, they lose motivation and quit. Here is the counteraction. Hit the gym every single day, but do it exclusively to train your mind, not your body. The physical muscle is just a side effect. You are going to the gym to build an unbreakable daily habit. Think of the gym like a metronome for a musician. A metronome just sits there ticking, ticking, ticking. It doesn't play the music, but it sets the absolute baseline rhythm that keeps the entire song from falling apart. The gym is the metronome for your day. If you can control that 1 hour, you can control the other 23. From a behavioral standpoint, going to the gym daily rewires your dopamine loops. Right now, your brain probably seeks cheap, easy dopamine from scrolling social media or eating junk. When you force yourself to lift weights or do cardio, you are practicing the psychology of progressive overload. You are teaching your nervous system that struggle leads to reward. As the weights feel lighter, the responsibilities of your real life will also begin to feel lighter. You are literally training your brain to stop panicking when things get hard. Chapter 5. The Fear Hit List. During these 6 months of hibernation, you are going to uncover a lot of mental baggage. The common mistake is avoiding the tiny, seemingly embarrassing fears that dictate your life. Maybe you have a weird anxiety about eating in front of other people, or speaking up in a Zoom meeting, or going to a networking event alone. Most people just avoid these situations forever, letting these tiny invisible walls dictate where they can and cannot go in life. The exact action you need to take is to write out a literal fear hit list. Write down every single thing that makes your stomach drop, no matter how stupid or small it seems. Then, intentionally attack them, starting from the smallest, easiest one. If you are afraid of eating in public, don't start by going to a fancy, crowded restaurant. Start by eating a sandwich on a park bench by yourself. Then eat with someone you don't really care about. Systematically knock them out. Think of it like leveling up in a video game. You don't take a level 1 character with a wooden sword and send them to fight the final boss dragon. They will get destroyed. You take your character into the forest and fight low-level slimes until you get stronger. The behavioral science here is incredibly simple. It is called exposure therapy. Your brain's alarm system, the amygdala, fires off panic signals when it encounters the unknown. But the brain is also an evidence-gathering machine. Every time you face a small fear and literally do not die, your brain logs that as undeniable proof of your capability. Your self-confidence skyrockets because confidence isn't a feeling. It is an undeniable stack of proof that you can handle reality. Chapter 6. The Builder's Education. You have to upgrade your software while you are isolated. The ridiculous mistake people make when trying to reinvent themselves is consuming endless amounts of information without doing anything. You watch 100 hours of tutorials, you memorize facts, you read the same generic self-help books everyone else reads, and you feel really productive. But you haven't actually built a single thing. You are confusing passive consumption with actual education. The exact, simple fix is to reverse the process. Start building a tangible project immediately, long before you know what you are doing. Pick a goal, start the project, spectacularly expose your own lack of knowledge, and then use that specific failure as a guide for what you need to learn. And when you do learn, read unconventional, weird books. This is like trying to learn how to ride a bicycle by reading a physics textbook about gravity and momentum. You can memorize the textbook, but the second you get on the bike, you are going to crash. You have to get on the bike first, scrape your knee, and then figure out how to balance. Here is how our minds actually learn. Neural pathways are only formed through struggle, not memorization. If there is no friction, there is no retention. When you start a project and get stuck, your brain creates a massive gap in its understanding. When you read a book to solve that specific problem, the information clicks into place permanently. And by reading weird, unconventional books instead of the mainstream stuff, you force your brain to connect ideas that no one else is connecting, which guarantees you will come out of these 6 months with a totally unique perspective. Chapter 7. The Wealth Stack. Now we have to talk about how you build real leverage in the world. The massive mistake almost everyone makes is relying on one single source of income and believing they have to become the absolute top 1% best in the world at one specific skill to be successful. That is an exhausting, terrifying way to live. Having money on your brain all the time drains you. Here is the exact action to fix this. Use your 6 months to add a second stream of income and build a skill stack. Stop trying to be the single best writer or the single best coder. It is way too hard. Instead, learn 2 separate skills where you can easily reach the top 25%. Then, combine them. Also, take the time to learn the absolute basics of investing so your money starts working while you sleep. It is like the concept of a Swiss Army knife. A Swiss Army knife doesn't have the absolute best chef-quality blade in the world. And it doesn't have the absolute best mechanic-quality screwdriver. But because it has a pretty good blade and a pretty good screwdriver combined in one tool, it is incredibly valuable and wildly successful. The psychological mechanics of wealth are all about cognitive bandwidth. When you rely on one paycheck, your brain is in a constant, low-grade state of survival anxiety. This stress literally eats up the processing power in your brain, leaving you with zero creative energy. By creating a second income and investing, you remove the existential dread. You free up massive amounts of cognitive space to actually think clearly, make better decisions, and act from a place of power rather than desperation. Chapter 8. The Cinematic Focus Hack. Finally, let's talk about the day-to-day execution of all this. How do you actually sit down and get the work done? The common mistake is trying to do deep work while listening to the radio, or podcasts with people talking, or chaotic music with heavy lyrics. Or worse, trying to rely on raw willpower to block out the world while you sit in a noisy room. Your focus gets shattered every 3 minutes. The exact action you need to take is a bizarre but incredibly effective hack. Play intense, instrumental movie soundtracks in your headphones while you execute your daily tasks. Imagine you are bowling. Relying on raw willpower to stay focused is like trying to throw the ball perfectly straight down a slick lane. You might get it sometimes, but often it goes in the gutter. Putting on a movie soundtrack is like putting up the bumpers. It artificially forces your brain to stay in the lane. Behaviorally, music with lyrics actively engages the language processing centers of your brain. If you are trying to read, write, or build, your brain is simultaneously trying to decode the words in the song, causing cognitive friction. Movie soundtracks, however, are specifically engineered by audio experts to bypass the language centers and directly stimulate the emotional centers. They are designed to evoke flow states, tension, and forward momentum. They trick your brain into feeling like you are the main character in a movie completing a high-stakes mission. Every single day of these 6 months, you are going to be faced with choices. You will want to quit. You will want to go back to your old friends. Whenever that happens, you need to zoom out. Look at the choice in front of you and ask one simple question. Will this benefit the future I am trying to create, or will it send me back to the anti-vision? Make the choice. Do the work. Disappear. When you finally emerge in 6 months, they won't even recognize you. And hey, if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. Also, let me know your thoughts on what I just shared.